Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Taya and this is Taya's Turning Pages. So for today's video, you can tell that this is going to be a collective book haul. So all of these books that I do have with me right now that I'm going to show in this video, I did get over the past couple of weeks / months. Some of them I did get from Barnes & Noble, some of them are from Target, and some of them are from Amazon. So it's just a hodgepodge of books, hence the collective haul. So yeah, I can't wait to show you guys what I picked up recently. I'm really excited about all of these reads. I haven't read any of them yet. I'm like kind of going through a weird thing right now with my reading where I'm currently reading a classic right now and I'm trying to really focus my time on that and like retaining the information. So we'll see when I get to any of these books, but either way, I'm really excited to show you guys what I have. So let's get started. So I'm going to try to break this up into categories. So starting with thrillers and then probably romance, and then I have like a random nonfiction read as well as like a random fantasy / romance type of read. So that's how I'm going to do it. I want to structure this video as best as I can. So yeah, the first category that we're going to start with though is thrillers. The first book that I have here is The Night Before by Wendy Walker, and I actually picked this up at Barnes & Noble, and this was like in their mass paperback section, and it's just like one of those like thrillers that you can just like, I feel like, easily go through. It's pretty short in my opinion. I think it's only about 300 and something pages, but on the back here it says first dates can be murder. So this actually follows two sisters, one named Laura and one named Rosie, and we're gonna like kind of, I think, look at it from the perspective of Rosie, because on the back here it says Laura is a troubled young woman, so Rosie kind of looks after her. And on the back here it also says that Laura was in love at some point and she recently broke up with her boyfriend and she's like really devastated about it. So to bounce back from that, she decides to go on this dating app and look for, I think, someone else to maybe rebound with. And Rosie knows all about this and she knows that Laura is going on this date. And so the next day or the next night after this date, Laura is nowhere to be seen. So Rosie cannot get in contact with her, she can't find her, and now Rosie has to figure out like what actually happened to her sister, and you know, the story pretty much takes off from there. So I just thought that this sounded really interesting. It does have one of my favorite thriller authors on here. It has Riley Sager. He quoted it. It says riveting. There's also Megan Miranda and Mary Kubica who also quoted it as well, which I think is pretty cool. I haven't read anything by them yet, but I do plan on it. But yeah, I'm really excited to read this one. I just picked this up off of a whim and it was really cheap. It was only like 10 bucks, so I figured why not. Next book that I have here is State of Terror by Hillary Clinton and Louise Penny, and I'm really excited to read this one. This is honestly an anticipated read for me. I saw this book when I was looking up like newly released thrillers, and this of course popped up, and I ran to Target that same day and got this, and I'm really happy about it. It was also 30% off, so shout out to Target for that. But I did not know that Hillary Clinton was writing a thriller and collaborating with the Louise Penny. I just think that's really cool. So I don't want to go into the full synopsis for this because it is like convoluted. So this is like a political thriller, of course, like you could tell by the title. So this does follow, I think, a Secretary of State, and her name is, oh my goodness, what is her name? Ellen Adams. And pretty much she has to work with, I think, a few people that she just doesn't really agree with. Like, I don't think she agrees with their political beliefs and all of that type of stuff, but she still has to work with them because this is her job. And as time goes on in this new position, she starts to see that there are like planned, I think, attacks on the US. And so Ellen has to figure out like what is going on. Is there a conspiracy theory involved here? Like, are there bigger, more sinister things happening like within her like department and within her administration that she's working for, etc. So I just think that this sounds really interesting, and like I said, very convoluted, so I know I'm gonna have to pay attention when I read this. I'm gonna see if there's an audiobook version of this just so that way I can maybe follow along. I feel like I am going to want to annotate this even though it's a thriller, but it is a political one, like I said, and I just find political books in general very fascinating. And y'all already know this is going to have a lot of social commentary in here because Hillary Clinton helped write it, so y'all know there's going to be probably some tea in here, and I cannot wait to figure out what like real life elements she took and what she put into this book. I think that this is going to be great. So yeah, if you haven't heard about this, here's your announcement now. Definitely recommend looking this up if you're into thrillers, especially political thrillers. Okay, so moving on to romance, I do have 3 here that I'm considering and classifying as romance because there is one book that maybe could fall into that category, but we're just gonna leave that for the end. But the first book that I have here is The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. And yes, everyone has already read this. I know I'm late to the wave yet again, but this was another book that I was putting off and that I just didn't want to read right away because of how hyped it was. But honestly, I broke down and I decided to just get it. Also, I'm not really the biggest fan of slow burns, but I recently read a slow burn romance on NetGalley, and I really enjoyed it, and I actually didn't get annoyed with how it was paced. So who knows, maybe this is a new leaf. Maybe I'll start to like slow burn books. So I figured, why not, you know, try my hand at this one, because this, I heard, is very, very slow, and you really don't get too much action until like you get to the end. So yeah, I'm not going to go into the synopsis of this one because everyone and their mom pretty much knows about the Spanish love deception. If you don't, I definitely recommend googling it. It is very popular right now. I will say that this does sound very cute, of course, and I love Spain. I've always wanted to go to Spain, so I feel like this is just going to be right in my alley, and it's going to give me those feels that I just, you know, I'm craving when it comes to this country. So yeah. I also know that Aaron Blackford, I think that's his name, the boyfriend, or like the male protagonist in here, is like everyone's boyfriend right now. Everyone is obsessed with Aaron Blackford and wants an Aaron Blackford, so we're gonna see if I feel the same way. But yeah, the Spanish love deception. The next book that I have here is From Luke Off with Love by Mariana Zapata, and from what I could gather online, Mariana Zapata is like the queen of slow burn romances. So again, I really want to give this pattern, trope, whatever you want to call it, a try and see if I really do like it, and to make sure that like the last slow burn romance that I read wasn't a fluke. I feel like Mariana Zapata is like the go-to for this type of stuff, so we're gonna try our hand at this and see if it works out for me. But this does take place like in an ice skating setting, which I think is just so beautiful and fascinating, because I feel like we don't have that many books that have like an ice skater or like that focuses on this type of sport, especially not in a romance. So I'm really excited to read this one. I just think that sport is just absolutely beautiful. But on the back here it says, if someone were to ask Jasmine Santos to describe the last few years of her life with a single word, it would definitely be a 4-letter one. After 17 years and countless broken bones and broken promises, she knows her window to compete in figure skating is coming to a close. But when the offer of a lifetime comes in from an arrogant idiot she spent the last decade dreaming about pushing in the way of a moving bus, Jasmine might have to reconsider everything, including Ivan Lukov. So this just sounds like it's going to be cute. I know Mariana Zapata also does a lot of like real life type of, you know, situations in her romance books, so I know it's not just going to be cute. I know that there's probably going to be real themes in here and stuff that any of us can relate to. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this one. I really wanted to start this like soon, but I don't know. It is long because it is a slow burn and it's Mariana Zapata. She writes long books. She's notorious for that. So we'll see when I get to this. I don't think it's going to be before the end of the year, but I definitely would like to maybe read this in February for like Valentine's Day, possibly. So we'll see. I don't know. But either way, I'm still excited to read this one. So the last book that I'm classifying as a romance for this haul is The View is Exhausting by Michaela Clements and Ojuli Dada. I apologize if I mispronounced that, but I actually saw this book a while ago when I was in Barnes & Noble shopping around, and I decided to pick it up because honestly this cover drew me in. I just thought that this was such a cool cover. It's definitely giving me like those mid-2000 vibes, like 2005, 2006 with like, I don't know, the OC, the hills, like it's giving very much that, and I loved it. So this one I honestly forget what it's about, but right here it says faking a love story is a whole lot easier than falling in love. So okay, this does follow I think 2 actors, or an actor and an actress. So you have Whitman Tagore and Leo Milanowski. I think that this is just following them in their relationship. Like I said, this was kind of a cover buy, I'm not going to lie to y'all, but I have seen a lot of people talking about this on Bookstagram in particular, and from what I can tell it seems like a lot of people really enjoyed this book. I think this is not super new. I don't think it's like really old either, but this definitely didn't come out, I don't think, this year or anything like that. You know what, let me check before I start talking out my neck. Let me double check first. Hold on. Okay, so I lied. This actually came out in July 2021. Actually, well, it says the first edition. Okay, so it says the first edition did come out in 2021. So it did actually come out this year. I thought that this, I don't know, for some reason I thought this came out earlier than that, but okay. So yeah, I need to read this one. I'm not sure when. Again, like I don't know when I'm gonna get to any of these books, but I have had this on my bookshelf for kind of a minute now, so I probably should get to it very soon. But yeah, The View is Exhausting. So the next book that I have here that's like kind of an honorable mention slash just a random pick, and it is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Now I feel like this book needs no introduction just because one, this came out years ago, but everyone and their mom has been talking about this on social media, so I feel like there's just no point in me going into the synopsis. But I do know that this is like a Greek mythology retelling, and I don't know what really prompted me to pick this up, you guys. Like I'm really not the biggest fantasy reader or like anything in that realm. I know that this isn't strictly fantasy. I know that there are other elements of it, so like romance and things like that, but I still for some reason like classify this as fantasy in my head, and so that's why I didn't really want to like pick it up, just because I'm not a fantasy reader. But I was on my iPad one day and I was just looking at popular books, and I decided to read a sample of this, and I read the first 2 chapters, and honestly I was kind of hooked, and I was very shocked by that. I didn't think that I was going to be like super interested, but I wanted to know what happened next, so I decided to pick this one up off of Amazon, and I just really love this edition. I think it is absolutely gorgeous. I know that the cover art for that edition has one of the main characters like warrior helmets on it, but I just like this one a lot better. I think this one's cuter, so that's why I picked this one up. But yeah, I don't know, I'm gonna give it a try and see if I really like it. I don't know if this means that I'm going to start reading more fantasy-esque type of books, but I decided to at least start with this one just because I know everyone raves about this one. I know that this is the winner of the women's prize, so that's how y'all know like clearly this book did something and it gave what it was supposed to give. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a try. Maybe I'll film a reading vlog of me like reading this, we'll see. But yes, the Song of Achilles. The next book that I have here is a nonfiction read, and it is The 1619 Project by Nicole Hannah Jones, and this is a book that talks about the first slave ship that arrived in the British colonies, and then I'm assuming it also talks about how slavery, you know, came to be in America and the lasting and ripple effects of it to today. So this book has been getting a lot of praise, a lot of notoriety from a lot of different authors because of just how expansive this book is. Like Nicole really did a great job at piecing together like, you know, what was really going on back then and how this came to be. I have seen some very nonsensical reviews on this book. They weren't really even reviews, it was just bashing the book. Either way, I'm excited to read this one, and I cannot wait to dip and dabble into this. I know that this is going to be a very heavy and traumatic read, of course, but I still feel like this is an important book that I needed on my bookshelf, and I wanted to support Nicole because this, I can imagine this was not an easy feat to create. So yes, definitely cannot wait to dive into this one. I also meant to say that I wanted to throw my book of the month picks in here. I don't know why I didn't mention that in the intro. I completely forgot about it, I guess, but I am going to quickly just go through what books of the month that I picked for December. This isn't sponsored, but I just wanted to, like I said, quickly talk about them. So I did pick 3 books, and the first one is the actual book of the month. So it is a thriller, and it is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham, and this is a debut, so that's really interesting. Cannot wait to dive into this one, but it is a psychological, movie-ish, unsettling type of murder mystery situation. And the quick take or the vague synopsis that book of the month gives here, it says, when a serial killer emerges with an eerily familiar pattern, Chloe Davis wonders if she's really escaped her past. That sounds right up my alley. I cannot wait to read this one, and like I said, it is a debut, so I really hope I enjoy this one, and you know, this will make me want to read more by Stacey Willingham. The next 2 books that I have in this box are nonfiction reads, and this first one is a memoir, and it is Beautiful Country. I don't know how to pronounce the author's name, and I don't want to butcher it, but I wanted this book when it first came out like a few months ago, but I just had other books that were like on the top of my TBR list, so I just decided to get those. But I finally got this one, and I'm really excited to read it. So this one right here says it is a moving memoir filtered through a child's eyes about a Chinese family struggling in the shadow of the American dream. So I really like reading books that talk about, you know, immigration and, you know, what it means to be an undocumented immigrant, and like, you know, living through that and all of that type of stuff. This year I did read In the Country We Love, My Family Divided by Diane Guerrero, and I genuinely loved that book so much. It was so gut-wrenching and so heartbreaking, but I loved it. I think Diane did an amazing job with that book, and I will recommend that to anyone. I think anyone should read that book. It is so good. But yeah, I cannot wait to read this one, and I just feel like this is going to be, you know, probably another favorite read of mine for the year. And I like that this is going to focus on another perspective because Diane Guerrero is Latinx, so I cannot wait to read this from, you know, the Asian experience. But yeah, all right, and the last book that I have here is My Body by Emily Rada. I don't know how to pronounce her last name still to this day, but Emily Rada is actually like one of my favorite like people. I love her content, I love her fashion sense. She is a model as well as an activist and an advocate. I've been following her on Instagram for like a while now, and I really like her. So when I found out that she was coming out with a book, I knew I had to pick it up. And this one is just a like collection of essays. And right here on the quick take it says, how should a woman be? These sharp, vibrant essays offer one woman's heartfelt and rich search for answers. So for those of you who do not know, Emily Rada, like I said, is an activist and an advocate. She really is outspoken on women's rights and, you know, being a feminist and all of that type of stuff. So I cannot wait to read this book. I noticed that Audible actually has a like audiobook for this, and Emily narrates it herself. So I definitely want to pick that up and like listen to that while I read along with this book. But yes, definitely know that this is going to be right up my alley, and I cannot wait to see how deep she goes into this book, like, you know, the topics explored here and like what exactly she, like, you know, references and talks about. I cannot wait to read all of that. I think that this is going to be very insightful, and I'm just trying to like really build up my collection of like feminist works and, you know, women's literary fiction and nonfiction, all of that type of stuff. So I'm glad to have this one on my bookshelf. All right, y'all, and those are all of the books that I have collected over the past couple of weeks and months. I'm really excited to dive into all of them. It's really embarrassing that I have not read any of these yet, but there's just so many books on my physical TBR and on these shelves and in my iPad that I have that I'm just like trying to work my way through. So I don't know, but I do want to get to all of these, of course, very soon or in the near future, but we'll see. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know what books you picked up recently. I would love to know. I'm always looking for recs, whether it's thrillers, romance, nonfiction. Just leave them all down below so that way we can all like share and like, you know, discover new gems. So yeah, anyways, I will see you guys in my next video.